Welcome back to the Lighthead online video show. This episode of the show is brought to you by Keystone Technologies, Greg. They're keeping it easy over at Keystone, KEYSTONETECH.com.
They make lighting a lot easier than you trying to figure out that headset and how it goes around your head. And looked like you were tangled up there, buddy.
I was tangled up, but you just tangle on when you get tangled up.
Tangle on with Keystone.
Yeah. What's happening, Greg?
Okay, well, one of the things that, is fun to think about, and never ceases to amaze me that after 15 years, I still get little secret surprises in lighting. I don't know what I'm calling this, but like a nasty little lighting secrets. Little things that you learn as you go, and you're like, really? So yesterday, I found out that, and maybe I should have known this, but an LED A lamp from at least one manufacturer, major one, said that if you put it on a photocell, it voids a warranty. Why? Why? And then so I started looking into it, and then it says that standard photocells require a small current to operate during the daytime when the light is off, because LEDs run at such a low voltage. This small current causes interference, flickering, and premature degradation. Therefore, LEDs require a different type of photocell than conventional bulbs. I did hear that from a contractor at one point. Said, really, you should be replacing the photocells when you're doing these LED wall packs because they're not rated for LED. It was an issue on like 2 jobs, but now I'm finding out on screw-in light bulbs. Like, come on, what kind of secret is that? Why does that happen? Got to make it hard.
Sounds like an LS valve module to me.
I know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one, but there's more, and I'm going to list some more, like we usually do. And if you come out with any other little secrets you do, but that's one that, again, just find out. Can't use an A lamp on a photocell, I guess. Or can you?
Photocells are in play in all LED lighting upgrades. They need to be addressed.
Yeah, that might be the better way.
The emergency ballast comes to mind, too, from 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
Common one that, is not really a secret as much anymore, but dimmers and LED. You know that the wattage draw is too low for incandescent and halogen dimmers to read it, so you need to have a LED rated dimmer. A lot of people, though, outside of lighting question it and say, why would that be? But that's something that you just know, and that happens, right? Type A LED tubes work off of Type C drivers. A lot of people think that Type A tube is like, okay, you got to have an electronic ballast. Not necessarily. You have the electronic ballast now. I mean, not all of them, I should say. Again, this is generalizing, but you can
Type A is Type C with a that goes on a ballast. Yeah.
Right. So if your ballast burns out, don't buy a fluorescent ballast. Buy the driver, maybe, depending on the price, right? So fun stuff there. Warranties. Read the fine print, buddy. We've talked about that enough, but as long as it's operated less than 3 hours a day, you get a 3-year warranty. It's operated more, warranty's void. Yeah. You don't need to beat that thing to death. It's a secret that a lot of people don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Don't trust the length. A 4-foot T5 HO is not the same size as a 4-foot T8.
That's nominal length on T5. Everybody knows that, Greg. That goes back to fluorescent. That's because you never sold any T5s in Minnesota. That's why.
Nobody did. T5s suck. Everybody knows that. But if you did sell a T5, you called it a 4-foot T5.
Nominally 4 foot.
Yeah, we'll say nominally then, okay?
No, okay, sure.
Okay.
I will next time. So I promise nominal 4 foot.
If I ever hear you say a 4-foot T5 again, you better say nominal in front of it.
It's nominally 4 feet. It's actually 46 and a quarter or whatever.
Yeah. Metal halide Kelvin temperatures. Ooh. It's not always 4K, Buck.
Nope.
There's 3K metal halides.
Sure.
Come on. Yuck.
Yeah. For sure there are.
That's a little secret. Not everybody always sees. They see the color and they go, oh, it's yellow. And you find out, well, it's a yellow metal halide.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's 3K metal, especially in the CDM stuff.
Yeah, and some of this stuff is stuff that everybody knows, or a lot of people know, but maybe not maybe new people in lighting don't know as much about this. Or maybe you get surprised like I did with the photocell. The CRI we know doesn't tell you much. The reds and LED and all the issues there. That's why they're redoing a whole new thing there. So don't really trust CRI. A ceramic metal halide par 38 looks very similar to a halogen par
Exactly the
38.
same, actually. You have to read
And
the
when you're
label.
looking up from the ground and you see it, you could say, oh, that's a halogen. I'm going to give you a nice clean 120-volt screw and LED
They're in
bulb.
big trouble with that, bub.
Big trouble. Light output for one, voltage potentially, and it oftentimes
Yeah.
is 277.
It's a great retrofit,
Can't
though, if you
just
can
do
get it
that.
right. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
retrofit. If you disconnect that ballast, run the line voltage to the socket if you're allowed in your jurisdiction. Not always allowed, but
Right.
yeah.
Fluorescent dimming, that can be line voltage or low voltage. You could really get jacked around on that if you don't
Fluorescent
know.
dimming is like you got to look at the whole
The
thing.
worst. It's the
Yeah, like
worst.
what a bad idea.
An issue.
Anyway,
Don't ever dim fluorescent.
come on.
19, what was that, 2003? That was cool. Yeah.
It would never worked properly.
No, never did.
I mean,
Then
I
it
shouldn't
screws
say
everything
that.
up.
I mean, it just really dimming fluorescence was always a bad idea. I
The
always
word ballast.
question whether it ever even
Yeah.
saved energy.
Yeah, like the percentage of it.
Yeah,
as
like
it
they may
decreased.
have lowered the light level, but I don't know if it used less energy. Anyway,
They killed the life of it, and so they
and the
didn't save
ballast was
anything from it.
$195
Exactly.
each or
Worst.
something.
That might go down as the worst thing that lighting has ever tried to do is dim fluorescent.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Bad idea.
or maybe like metal halide dimming too. That was out there for a bit, where they monk
Yeah,
around
those
with the circuit and they screw it up and they remove one of the sine waves or something like that. And it's like, yeah.
are- right. The word ballast compatible should just be taken out. There's no such thing. That's too general of a term. Because it's always ballast compatible as long as it meets this, and this. Oh, it's good because it's 120 volt and not 270. Now it's not. Things like that. I get frustrated by some of these terms. What LED life actually is at L70? It's 30% light loss. Maybe that's acceptable, but a lot of times it's probably not. Especially if you're designing the system to be where it is at 100%, and now a couple of years later, you've lost all that light. You need the light to see what you're doing.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
not a good way there. I know I'm telling you everything you already know, but I'm going to see if you got any other tricks too. 277 volt CFLs, there are such a thing. They look the
Sure.
exact same as a 120 volt CFL.
Boom.
Yeah, be ready for a pop there if you don't have that one.
Yep.
Recycling coated lamps, nasty.
It
If you're
happens.
bidding a project and you have a coated lamp there, you better factor that into your recycling price. Otherwise, what is it? Triple the price?
You have to own a recycling company to know the truth on that.
It's really not triple the price.
I'm not going to say
But you
anything.
make it that way. You make it that way. All right, you're going to be quiet this whole time. And then what actually has to be recycled? Again, maybe you can't tell us that, but there's a lot
I
of
can tell you
things
that for sure.
well, there's a lot of companies that say, well, you can kind of maybe recycle that, but you don't have to. Like LEDs even. I still don't know the clear answer.
It's
You
e-waste.
might, yeah,
So
but I
LEDs
mean,
are like e-waste. So in Ontario, there's a regulation around e-waste. It has to be recycled, but it doesn't have the same level of hazard. And recycling is such a generic term; it's almost useless now.
yeah,
It's gone completely useless. But all fluorescent and HID lamps should be recycled for sure for mercury capture.
yeah, I get that, but the rest is all out in the open, and I have no clue what the right answer is, but I recycle it anyways.
You should.
So that's a list of nasty little lighting secrets that I came up with. I know there's more, and other people might think of some, but just that photo cell really got me thinking about it the other day. I'm like, it's a lot of weird little things you need to know if you want to be in lighting and be successful at it, and not get screwed.
Here's what I would say. When I started in lighting, there were a lot of people who knew a lot about lighting.
Yeah.
Pre-LED. Okay? And some of those people are still out there. Like I can still talk to them and they know a lot about legacy lighting. And so over the course of, 120 years of incremental improvements, we learned a lot about how light sources work, what they do, and all this sort of stuff. And I think that the reality is that the industry knows less about lighting now than we did 15 years ago.
That's probably true. Still figuring it out as we go.
I mean, we're going to get into the next show here where I'm going to be very critical of an institution. But one of the things, like the idea, and I've said it before, the Silicon Valley crowd break everything fast and move quick. Yeah, that's how you make innovation, destructive change, or whatever. What do they call that? Creative destruction. Yeah, lay waste to the industry and then take over. Exactly what happened to lighting, but you know what? It's a hell of a lot more complicated than that. And Johnny come lately in the lighting marauders, they destroyed an industry, and they were led by a certain institution that we're going to talk about next. But you know, those people laid waste to this industry, and it's not the same as the cell phone industry. It's not the same as the consumer electronics industry. Like saying that Facebook moved fast and broke stuff is to say nothing. What did they break? MySpace?
Right.
Oh, you broke MySpace. Yeah, creative destruction, Silicon Valley, capital venture. Yeah, smash it up. This was a real industry, man, that had standards and regulations, and they did things a certain way. They were led by great bodies. And Johnny come lately in the lighting marauders came in and smashed everything up in the name of carbon emissions reduction and energy efficiency and lumens per watt and all these ideas that everyone thought they were doing everything great, the Silicon Valley way, and it turns out that it's a debacle, actually. Debacle. It's not a fiasco. Elements of it are total disasters, but in general, it's just a debacle. You know, you got debacle. You got, I like to say debacle, but you have whole elements. It sounds better as debacle. You have whole swathes of blinking, flickering LED tubes. Millions upon millions of them out there. And people go to work every day. Well, they don't go to work anymore. But when they used to go to work, they would be under these flickering, flashing lights, and they didn't even know it. And how gross is it when you find out, and then all of a sudden you can notice it? Like, once you notice it, you notice it, man.
It's a problem.
And all the color temperature disasters and all this other stuff. I blame it on Johnny come lately.
And that's who's to blame for all these nasty little lighting secrets.
Well, I mean, look, the rated average life was always a joke. So why would it be any different now?
Right.
Like, I remember getting an email from one of the majors, and they said, we now have a 50,000 hour T5HO. So I wrote them back saying, why don't you make one that lasts 25,000 hours first?
Start with that.
Yeah. Like it's a joke. Like, you know, you're telling me that the lifetime in lighting has always been a joke. And I tell consumers that I think it's funny. I had a guy call me the other day, and he's like, my customer's really pissed off, and he's all upset because these LED tubes in his freezers only last 2 years, and it's a 60-inch LED tube. So I think you know where he's getting it from.
Yeah.
Right? You know? And it's a ballast bypass or whatever, and the guy's like all upset and all this sort of stuff, and you're the distributor and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, you know what? The good news is, what's that? At least you can change the light bulb.
Sure.
And it only costs $33. He's like, well, isn't there a warranty? I said, yeah, you can fill out a bunch of forms, but how many do you want? I want 5. Yeah, I think you should just buy them. No? Okay, see you later. Calls back the next day and order them. That's it, bud.
Yeah.
Light bulbs burn out. And the industry's got a whole bunch of sins of the past that they need to hit the confessional. And one of them is like hiding things like it doesn't work with photocells. Maybe no one will notice.
Right. That's how I felt when I saw that.
Yeah.
When the customer pointed it out to me, I said, really? Where does it say that? It does say that. What?
Yeah, it's just like Johnny come lately, bud.
Secret. Nope.
No one's going to notice. We're just going to move fast and break stuff and hope for the best. Folks, this has been the Lighthead online video show. It's sponsored by our friends at Keystone Technologies. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com.